So today we have Jordan Ott's press conference, and I wanted to kind of discuss briefly before we get into Bradley Beal, and then we'll get into some Arizona Cardinals talk. But give me 10 to 15 minutes to talk about Jordan Ott, Bradley Beal, and let's dive into that. So what do I want to hear today from Jordan Ott's press conference from the 5G Verizon Performance Center later on today? Well, I'll tell you what I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear the word alignment. I don't want to hear buzzwords. If I have to, I will be the person that raises my hand and says, hey, you talk about alignment. There's these buzzwords you guys are using. What does that mean? Because at the end of the day, we want to know exactly what the Phoenix Suns are trying to do. Because overall, we're all just left in the dark. So Jordan Ott, although I've defended the hire because I believe he is 1,000% qualified for this job, what I will say is Jordan Ott deserves the right for you to be able to be won over. It doesn't mean you need to be won over right away. All I would say is give the guy a chance. And today he is going to speak to the media for the first time. And I'm really excited to see how he gets off his first impressions. Because one of the things that is going to hinder Brian Gregory over the next couple of months, years, days, weeks, whatever it is you want to look at it, what I will say is Brian Gregory will never be won over because some people take first impressions just that seriously. I'm the victim of me not taking first impressions seriously in my younger adolescence. I guess I'm only 27 now. I'm not that much younger now, but in my younger adolescence, I didn't take first impressions super seriously because I thought it was nonsense. But now I've learned it's like the most important thing. So I tend to give people some leeway with that. So even still, Brian Gregory, I understand that his first impressions were terrible and that will never leave people's brain cells. For me, I'm going to see it through. Because I have to treat him like he's someone who's not qualified for the job. So probably didn't understand that media presser was going to make or break it for a lot of people. And same with Jordan Ott. Jordan Ott will never have the bandwidth or the support from some people if he blows today's press conference. It doesn't mean everything, but it does mean something, especially to people like me who want to see what kind of a leader he is and if people will buy in to what he is selling. That's important, guys. It is incredibly important for Jordan Ott to go up there and to sell you a bag of goods. There is this idea that you should win the press conference. I don't necessarily care if you do, but it's better than losing it. So with that being said, I need to see and hear a competent plan and a confident person from Jordan Ott today. That's just what has to happen, guys. So let's continue to talk through that. One of the things that Jordan Ott is going to have to figure out is the Bradley Beal situation. How in the world is he going to deal with the Bradley Beal situation? One of the things everyone was quizzed on when it came to Bradley Beal was, what would you do with him? And I think I'm in the minority on what I would do with Bradley Beal. I think it's incredibly easy just to say, yeah, let's get rid of Beal. It's a bad idea. And here's why. I understand that some people want to just push Bradley Beal to the side and get him off this team or trade him. If there's any world where you're getting rid of Bradley Beal, you are trading him with assets. He is a depreciating value. He is a lottery ticket potentially for another team to scoop up, realize he was potentially misused, and be a viable piece for them elsewhere. I do believe Bradley Beal is still a good basketball player. I think so much of what Bradley Beal had to deal with at this point was fit. I don't think he fit here. There were too many cooks in the kitchen. KD, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. It was too redundant. Each guys do everything the same. And Bradley Beal just does it at a worse pace than the other guys. But what I will say is I can buy into the fact that if Ryan Dunn is your starter, you make a trade with the San Antonio Spurs and you get someone good back. I don't know what that looks like. You nail the 14th overall pick in a trade with the San Antonio Spurs, which, by the way, I am absolutely for the trade. I mentioned, it's so funny because I do think that I'm a pretty intuitive individual, and I think about these things and I see around corners. I put that San Antonio trade, not because I'm a reporter, because I have sources, just inferring things. I put that trade out there. Jeremy Sohan, Keldon Johnson, Harrison Barnes, and the 14th overall pick, like a month ago on Locked On Suns. And then all of a sudden, everyone's talking about that deal. It's like, I mean, come on. I want a little bit of credit, not necessarily, but either way. Let's say you get the correct players back, and you nail the 14th overall pick, and you potentially nail the 29th overall pick again. I do think there's a world where Bradley Beal can be a contributor to that team. What people need to get themselves out of is that this Suns team is a finals team or is a bona fide Western Conference finals team. You have to change your view of what the Suns are going to be next year. I think top end, they can be a playoff team. You align this roster correctly, you make Bradley Beal a certified number 2 scorer, there is a world where this could work. Not to mention, guys, I don't want to act like I'm like, oh, keep Bradley Beal here. We need Bradley Beal. No, I'm kind of sick of his attitude too. And I've defended the guy for a long time. However, next year, Bradley Beal's only got 2 more years left on his deal. It's a terrible deal, but after next year, it's 1 year left on the deal. Me and my co-host Brendan talked about this after a Locked On podcast show, and I was like, that's a positive trade asset. He's got $50 million coming off the books next year. Everyone would want that expiring contract. And Brendan kind of talked some sense to me. He was like, no, it's just not a negative asset. Either way, that's a positive for me. If you're telling me next year I can move Beal and not have to give up a pick or a player, especially where next year you're not going to be a playoff team, I think that's a world where you should keep Beal around. I just also believe he can be a valuable contributor to a team that's not trying to win a championship, but just trying to win games and rebuild a culture. But I know that's a hard pill to swallow for some Suns fans, because I agree with you. He drove me insane last year with some of his comments. He sank his own ship with the fans last year, and no one else. Now, I'm not for the Bradley Beal ruined our team. It's not his fault that another team gave him $60 million a year. You would take that as well. You got to blame the front office for making that deal. You got to blame Devin Booker and Kevin Durant for recruiting Bradley Beal to the Phoenix Suns. But it didn't work out. But I do think that there's a world where he can help on a team that's just trying to win games. Combine it with the fact that next year, he becomes an expiring deal with like $55 million left on it. That's a valuable asset to have because everyone's going to look at it and say, I could free up $55 million in cap space? Well, why wouldn't I do that now? So that's where I land on the Bradley Beal thing, is that I get pushing him out, but pushing him out for nothing or having to potentially add a draft pick to him when you already don't have a lot of assets just to get rid of him, I think is a really bad way to conduct business. And I understand some people are so fed up with him and his attitude and the nonsense that Bradley Beal brings to your franchise. However, he is someone that I think can help you win in a different role. Maybe that's off the bench still. And then next year, if he can rebuild his value just a little bit more, maybe you can deal him at the trade deadline. Maybe still not have to give up anything for him. In terms of assets, you have to take something back. He makes too much money. But at the end of the day, I do think there's a world where we just have to suck it up that Bradley Beal is a part of the Phoenix Suns next season. Even if it's not my A-plus plan, I just look at it and say, I don't want to lose this guy for just nothing or attach assets to him for nothing. Where someone else sees some man's trash, could be their treasure in a different role.